How's it going, YouTube, and welcome to my unboxing and overview of the Samsung Galaxy K Zoom. What this phone essentially is a replacement for the S4 Zoom with a few subtle differences which I'll talk about in a moment. So looking around the box, you got the traditional wood grain look, which is very typical of Samsung these days, and even in the back you get the usual specifications printed and stamped on the back, which just goes through and lists some of the key features and key specs of each model. So all I'm going to be doing in this video is just unboxing it, seeing what we get in the box, giving it a quick power on, and just a very quick OS tour. So as we break the seal and pull this phone out for the very first time, you can see it's presented right on top with a little tab to pull out the phone. You can see I opted for the charcoal black, but it does also come in electric blue and shimmery white. So let's get this phone out of the way and see what else we get in the box. So as soon as we remove the bit of card which houses the phone, you can see straight away on top the information booklet, which doesn't present anything too useful, just information about accessories, quick startup guide, and just other boring stuff like that. You also get the typical Samsung earphones, which is your standard white ones. You also get a UK plug, which is one of those travel plugs, which helps you compact it down just to make it easier for when you are carrying things around, because the UK plug is quite a bulky plug anyway. You also get the traditional typical Samsung USB cable, which is again in white to match the plug, and also some earbuds as well to complement the earphones, so you can get it in small, medium and large depending on the size of your ears. And finally you also do get a battery, of course, which is a 2430 milliamp hour. No news yet on battery life, but hopefully with that size battery it should be pretty decent. This phone has also got a quad core processor and also a dual core, so it's a hexa-core processor really, but it's two separate cores, one low power dual core processor just to do its everyday jobs, and the second processor is a quad core processor running at a slow 1.3 gigahertz, but that's what's going to be used to do most of the hard work. So onto this phone's trump card, and that is the whopping 20.7 megapixel Samsung camera with 10 times optical zoom. And where this phone stands apart from the old S4 Zoom is on the display, which was 4.3 inches and now is 4.8 inches with a resolution of 720p by 1280. So now the PPI has gone from 256 PPI all the way up to the 306 PPI. Also, it's still running on Gorilla Glass 3. Expandable memory up to 64 gigabytes, 2 gigabytes of RAM, 8 gigabyte internal memory, most likely only about 5 gigabytes of that's going to be user available, just like the previous model. Front facing cameras have been slightly tweaked from 1.9 megapixel to 2 megapixel. The video camera has actually improved. It's gone from 1080p at 30 frames per second to now the 1080p at 60 frames per second. Also, the sensor's gone very slightly bigger, but most importantly the resolution's gone up from 16 megapixel up to 20.7 megapixel. Also, another thing you'll be able to notice is the back completely pops off, giving you easy access to the battery and also the SIM card. The memory card is still accessible through the side, but if you do want to get at the micro SIM card, you do have to pop that battery and the whole back cover off. You'll also notice that the hump has gone from the back, which was the camera grip. Samsung completely done away with that and made it as smooth as possible on the back to make it feel more like a phone than a camera. You can still see the Xenon flash is still there, which is excellent news, so great low light performance, but the phone should handle a little bit better when you're using it as an everyday phone for texting and other media watching. So I'm just going to fast forward through the whole setting up bit. I just want to delve straight in there and have a quick little browse around the OS. I'm not going to spend too much time on the operating system because it's your standard, well, the latest version of TouchWiz, but we're going to have a quick look anyway. So as we scroll around through the different screens, you can see the new camera studio where there is the Pro Suggest and a few other new features. Also, magazine or My Magazine is present here, just like you get on the S5, and you get the usual cluster of applications thrown in there with Samsung phones. As soon as I did launch the camera, there was a message saying updating camera firmware, please wait, and it didn't allow me to use the camera just for a few minutes. Also, it looks like the autofocus light somehow just permanently stayed on whilst it was doing this update as well. You can definitely tell this is running on the latest version of TouchWiz. The settings application is all bubbled up with icons. Personally, I'm not a massive fan of this. I actually do prefer the tab view, but there is also a list view as well if you'd rather have it in the list view. I prefer the tab view because that's what I'm used to from previous phones such as the Samsung, etc., and it just made it a little bit more logical to where things were. Also, in the short amount of time that I have been using the phone, it has actually been running buttery smooth because it is running on Android Kitkat 4.4.2. The previous generation phone, or should I say the S4 Zoom, ran on Jelly Bean, which still ran quite smooth, but in terms of the processing power, combined with Jelly Bean, there was quite a bit of stutter and lag, and that's why I don't think it sold too well. I do think the K Zoom will sell a lot better than the S4 Zoom because it is running really smooth, but only time will tell. The K Zoom is far from perfect though. There is a massive hump on the back which you don't get very often with smartphones these days, and that gives it one massive problem, and that is if you are the sort of person, a bit like me sometimes, which you lay your phone down on the table and you start texting or maybe just navigating your way around the phone. This phone does rock about a lot. I mean, it's almost like it's a boat on water. It's constantly rocking backwards and forwards. Also, when you do tap the top of the screen, it does rock even backwards. That is something you have to consider. If you are the sort of person which does like to lay the phone flat on the table and play around with their phone, it may be a deal breaker because there is no way that I can think of that will actually prevent this from happening. Having said that, this might be a small price to pay for the excellent image quality. You get excellent optical zoom, and the zoom is strong enough for it to lift itself up under its own weight. So if you do hit that camera button by accident, don't worry about that at all. I know I've done that several times when going into Instagram, but it feels very tough, very durable, and my next video is going to be the actual image quality and video quality coming from this phone. So feel free to check that out. Don't forget to subscribe if you already haven't, and